Hi there. I wanted to give a quick demo of something I've been working on called Spawner. It allows web apps to spin up containers on the fly that can be connected to directly from clients. Normally it's called through an API, but to show you a demo, I've made a really basic UI for it. So what happens is I'm going to click Spawn. This is talking directly to Spawner. Normally you wouldn't have Spawner speak HTTP on a public port, but what I've done is set up a route in my reverse proxy so that I can do this so that it works. If I bring up this is running on Google Kuberenetes engine. So if I bring up the monitor here and look at the workloads, we'll be able to see that this has spun up a new pod here called Spawner, prefix with Spawner. I'll narrow this down to the Spawner namespace. So this will just show the containers that have been created by Spawner in this session. So it looks like it's ready. So I'm going to click on this URL, and this is going to route me to a web server that's actually running in the container that I just spun up. And not only is that container running a web server, it's actually running a headless Chrome browser. So what it's doing here is it's actually streaming over WebSockets a PNG image a number of times a second. If I go to network here, you can see it's doing quite a lot of network because it's not a compressed image. But the details of what's actually running in this container, though, the fact that this is Chrome is not important. I've just picked Chrome because I think a developer can kind of look at this and understand what needs to actually happen to do something like this. You know, it's not a typical web server where we actually have an application running. I can even test and do a query and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to load up CNN as well. So I can take this and open this up in another window. And what happens when I do that is that this little hash here is unique to the container that I've spun up. So these two windows are now talking to the same container. And if I click something on this, it's going to come up on both. If I go back to this API and spawn up another container, then this is gone, and I can show you in GKE here as well, refresh. So I've spun up a new container now. And if I click that, I'm back to the beginning and I have a fresh new session. So the other thing that Spawner does is it's going to be monitoring these containers for activity and shut them down when they're no longer in use. So because the idea is that you're kind of creating these session-lived containers so that each user kind of gets a long-lived process for the duration of their session. And of course, that's not necessarily one-to-one. You can have, as I demonstrated, multiple browsers talking to one server, but there should generally be at least one client connected to a server. And if there's not, then that's when Spawner decides it's ready to shut it down. So if I bring, this is connected to the Kubernetes logs for Spawner. So you can see that it has detected, it's detected that one of these containers has been inactive for more than 30 seconds, which is what I set it to for the demo. So it's gone and shut down that container. And if I go back to GKE and refresh, you should see that one container has disappeared. So I think this is pretty neat. Running Chrome in the browser is not the main solution of this. The main problem that I'm trying to solve here. The main problem I'm trying to solve is actually for really data-intensive applications where we want to do some data processing on the server side, and because it just doesn't make sense to ship all the data down to the client, or maybe we want to do some processing with server-side GPU or high memory processing. But the nice thing about this infrastructure is that it works for a bunch of different things. So we can use it for you could use it for collaborative apps, like I sort of showed. Could be a backend for games. It's pretty agnostic to what's actually running in the container, as long as it speaks HTTP or WebSocket. So this is not production ready yet, but it is demo stage, and I would love to get it out there as soon as possible. So I'm going to flip the switch on the GitHub repo later today so that people can take a look under the hood. That's all for now. Thanks.